hello, and welcome to a new episode of Ramblings from Two Meddling Kids. I'm Edward Hunt, joined by my co-host,
Mike Cunningham.
and we are the Meddling Kids. And today we'll be reviewing Joyride. For those of you joining us for the first time, hey, glad to have you here. We like to review movies. For those of you coming back for another listen, good to have you back, and I'm going to give everyone a quick reintroduction to the rules. We will never spoil anything in the first 5 to 10 minutes. We will start every podcast with a spoiler-free review that's ranking it from 0 to 5 with just our overall thoughts of the movie and whether or not you should see it. From there, we'll give you some background about the movie, like, budget, actors and actresses, the director, etc. And then we'll start giving a play-by-play of the movie, kind of like going through scene by scene, summary by summary. But... so again, no worries. We're not going to spoil anything yet. Mike, you ready for a spoiler-free review?
Yes, sir.
Let's hear it. What do you got? 0 to 5. What are you giving?
2.5. I was really excited about this one. It was like, it looked like the Asian version of the Bridesmaids or something like that. Very much like Wild Trip. It had those elements of like, I guess, wild, like things like I guess a road trip gone wrong and stuff like that. But it was just like, I think some of the comedy didn't land. And it's funny, I was thinking about this earlier. It was like the story, like it was like the story beats didn't work, but I was like, it's a comedy, who really cares? But still, it didn't, like, a lot of the obstacles or something like that didn't seem like obstacles. So it was like, why bring them up type of thing. I think the pacing was fine. Like it was like an hour and a half, so like it really ran. But yeah, I think it's also because of the fact that comedy is subjective. So just like if that's not if that's not what you find funny, you're not gonna like these certain things. I think that's why comedy movies are very hit or miss with a lot of audiences. There's no general. I guess there are a few movies that are generally liked by audiences, but yeah, I think it was a lot of the funny parts happened in the trailer, and that was about it, type of thing. I wanted to like it more. Like it wasn't horrible. Like and it seems like the audiences and the critics really enjoyed it. But it was just like, I think for me, I was expecting it to go a little bit wilder, and it just didn't. It didn't do that. But I liked all of the leads. I've been a big fan of Stephanie Shu since The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and then what came out last year, Everything Everywhere All at Once. I think she's like a rising star, so it's good to see her. Kind of comedic chops, right? Like those movies are a little bit more serious dramas, but yeah. So I think it just wasn't as funny as I thought it was going to be. But I would definitely still say go see it. It's not one that's like avoid watching or anything like that. But it wasn't as funny as I thought it was going to be. So 2.5.
Yeah. No, I agree with you there. Honestly, at one point in time, I was thinking, when I was watching it, I was thinking maybe it was going to be a 2 for me, but it is a 2.5. I think because the movie has a lot of heart, which is great. The movie has a good message about like finding yourself and your identity and who you are, which is great. It has some good touching moments, but where it did lose me was on a lot of the comedy. Some of it I thought was very funny. Some of it I was laughing at. Others I just felt it kind of fell flat. And I think I agree with like comparing it to like the other, like Girls Trip, right? I think Girls Trip, Girls Trip, Road Trip, Euro Trip. Like the trip movies have been out for a long time of like some kind of adventure going on, and then like all the mishaps that have been happening. And for me, I think this one went even more so into like who you are as a person and friendship, which was nice than others. Yeah. But I felt like some of the comedy, like. Granted, also I'm older, so I haven't seen those like trip movies in a long time as well. So I remember watching them when I was like a teenager, early college, and just dying laughing. Now I'm a little bit older, so I guess you could say some of the humor might be more juvenile, but like some of the humor for me, I was like, I just don't find it funny. Like there was, I'm not spoiling anything, but there was some bad CGI at one point in time, and being like, it's inside. I was like, what? And then from there, I felt some of even the conflict almost to me felt like manufactured like, why are they fighting here at the end?
You mentioned the fact that it is heartfelt, right? In this whole trip to your homeland type of thing and who you are and your identity. But I think a lot of the tension or like it just wasn't earned in the movie that it's in type of thing. So just like even the whole like not to spoil it, but it was like she goes home like you find out she's adopted in a trailer, so it's not that. But it
Yeah,
was
oh
like
yeah.
even to find her birth mother, it seemed like it wasn't even her idea. So it's like why what is this, or even like the reason for her to go on this journey afterwards.
Yeah.
It seemed kind of forced or like kind of shoehorned in a way. It wasn't like something that like there was no actual stakes to it, or you know, I don't know. Just like I said, I think some of the story fell through, but it's a comedy, so oftentimes, and it's a road trip movie, so oftentimes the story really doesn't matter. It is about that journey and the friends you make along the way, or like in like those moments and like that. But yeah,
Yeah.
sorry I cut
Yeah.
you off.
No, 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 not at all. But I mean, I agree, and it really was like from the message with the movie that was good. Really, the humor is what fell flat for me for some of it, and some of the humor was great, but like other parts, I was just like, I just don't find it that funny currently. But yeah, I would say I'm glad they did it. I would say, yeah, go check it out if you're interested. And it's not a bad movie. It's just I think there are some better comedies out there, especially. And then unfortunately, the some of like the like I don't know if I want to call it lackluster, but some of the jokes that fell flat detracted for me like the message that this movie was portraying. But again, like I give it mad props, and I'm glad they tried it. But yeah, hey, those are movies. But cool. So what we like to do, we're still not going to spoil anything yet. We're going to get into some background about this movie. Who are the actors and actresses? How's it doing so far? Apparently, all the critics completely disagree with Mike and Mike and I don't know movies. So there's that, which sucks. But
You're hacked, God damn it.
all right, Mike, what do we got?
So Joyride came out July 7th, 2023. The runtime is an hour 34 minutes. So like I said, like really, really quick. The budget, I cannot find the budget at all. Like I've looked, tried to look everywhere. I can't find the budget for this. But currently, the box office returns for this weekend, it being that it just came out 2 days ago, was about 5.8 million in its opening weekend. So I don't know if that's good or bad. I mean, it depends on the budget.
There's no way that's good. There's no way that's good for
Yeah.
modern movies. Yeah, that's
But it also
yeah.
what it came out this week. The new Insidious movie came out, so that one did I think about 40 mil or
Okay,
something
yeah.
like that. So it's like I mean, not that they had overlapping audiences, but there was a bit of a bigger movie that came out this weekend. So that also might be a reason why it didn't do a little bit better. Because it was like another movie that came out, and I just watched yesterday, The Blackening or whatever, that came out on Juneteenth weekend.
Oh, you
I
did
think,
see it. How was it?
yeah. No comment. But
Okay, yeah.
talk about comedy falling. But even that one, its first weekend, I think it did about 4 to 6 million or something. So the
Oh
same
wow.
kind of thing, same thing. I think right now it's about at 15 million. So, but I think the
Okay.
budget was about 6. So maybe it's making money now. So that's what I'm saying. I don't know if this is necessarily a bad start for this movie, being that I can't find the budget. If the budget was about 6 mil, maybe
Yeah.
maybe it'll make back its money, but I have no idea. There's no way it was like $100 million. There's
No,
no
no.
way.
I mean, I would still put it like I don't know. Granted, I don't know how to make movies like this, so I was thinking like still 15 million, like 10, 15
Maybe, yeah,
million.
maybe. That's what I'm saying. That's what I can't say if it's it seems like a bad start, right? But I just don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So the Rotten Tomatoes score right now, it's at a 91 for critics and a 83 for audience. So
Yeah.
the critics seem to really, actually both the critics and the audience seem to really enjoy it.
Yeah.
The genre is just comedy. The director is Adele Lim. Lim. This is her directorial debut. Prior, she worked on Crazy Rich Asians and Raya the Last Dragon. It's written by, I have this as trivia for no reason, just because it's a long ass name, but it's written by Sherry Shavaprava Damrong, who is a writer on Family Guy or whatever.
Ah,
I
okay.
just recognize her name because it shows up on every episode of Family Guy, and it's long as hell. It's like 18 letters.
Yeah.
But yeah, she works on Family Guy and The Orville or whatever. That's the writer.
Okay, yeah.
The cast stars Ashley Park as Audrey. I believe she's on Emily in Paris. I think that's what she's known for. Sherry Cola as Lolo. Sabrina Wu as Deadeye. Stephanie Shu as Kat. And like I said earlier, Stephanie Shu, she's worked on The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel and Everything Everywhere All at Once. So I was really excited to see her. Alexander Harge as Todd, Desmond Shine as Clarence, David Denman as shit. I forgot it. Well, it's here. Sorry, actually, hopefully it's here. Joe and Annie Mumolo, sorry, as Mary. Those are Audrey's parents, and then Ronnie Chang, sorry, as Chow.
Yeah.
And then the tagline is 4 friends, 1 trip, no luck.
Yep. Yeah. So definitely with that tagline too. I mean, they're really leaning into like that trip style.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Honestly, I didn't. I guess the Joy Ride I would have got, but it was like the trip. I think wasn't. I didn't think that was going to be the focus. Like I don't know. It was the trailers. I couldn't. I can't remember the first time I saw the trailer, so I couldn't. I can't remember what I was thinking it was going to be. But yeah, yeah, you're right. The whole trip thing was definitely there once you got to the movie.
Yeah. Because I will say too, kind of. I mean, obviously, very different premise. But remember, Sex Drive back in the day that came out when we were in high school? Yeah, another like 4 friends, 3 friends. So definitely the 4 friends is key for all of these journeys. They go out, they learn some more about themselves and each other, and there's some laughs along the way. But yeah, so before we get into our play-by-play, a quick word from our sponsors / anything else we have going on in our lives. Hi, my name's Edward Hunt. I'm a real estate agent here in the DMV, that is DC, Maryland, and Virginia. And if you would like any advice on the market, or you need great contractors, or you need great loan officers or lenders, so you can do things like a HELOC or any kind of refinancing, feel free to reach out anytime, and I can connect you with some amazing people and give you advice on what's going on in the market. Also, as I was happy to announce a few times, and you've probably seen, and maybe sick of it, I'd like to hope not, my comic on Kickstarter, it got funded, so I should be putting it online shortly, as well as shipping it out to everybody. So I would love for everyone to read it and let me know what you think. Mike, anything going on?
Nope, I'm dead inside. Go.
Mike's just, playing it cool, doing his thing, right? But cool. Awesome, everyone. So now we're going to start getting into our spoilers / play-by-play. So if you would like to pause now, go watch the movie, because I think, both of us 2.5, but still, I'd say worth seeing, especially because we want to make sure that it, reaches its budget at least. Jesus. And then we go from there. But just make sure you come back, and then we'll see you soon. Or hang out. All right, so how does this movie start? What's going on with it? What do we really see?
The movie starts in 1998. We meet Lolo Chen, I believe her last name is, and her family have moved to White Hills, Seattle.
Yeah.
And they're at a park, and they're kind of, I guess, surprised at the fact that how many, I guess, white people are at this park.
Well, I mean, think of the name. Yeah. And Seattle.
But so kind of surprised, making comments about how many white people there are, whatever. And this couple comes up and asks them if are they new in town? And Lolo's mom makes a comment about they're from California. They're not, and they speak English, because I think, it's the assumption that these white people come up, they see that, these quote unquote foreigners, and they just assume they don't speak English, and they're, whatever. So I think Lolo's mom tries to, squash that immediately or whatever. And you see that, what's his name? Joe, sorry, isn't trying to be, racist or anything like that. It's just that he's like, they see that these are Chinese people, and they have a daughter that they've adopted who is also Chinese, and they just want, they want their kids to be able to play together, right? Because obviously there's a lot of white people around, so.
Yeah, they should have led with the fact that they're, just like have their daughter in front of them. Just no, you don't have to have this whole awkward conversation about what's going on right now. Be like,
hey. It was very much like a trailer baity thing, where it's like you don't see the little girl, but it was just like in real life. But yeah, so the 2 girls, Audrey and Lolo, go to play on the swings, and you see this in the trailer. Like this little boy comes up to them and says, "No ching chongs on the swings," or something like that. Yeah. And Lolo immediately just punches him in the throat. Yeah. Like, you want to be best friends? Yep.
Yeah. Yep. There we go.
and so from there you get like moments of their childhood. So it's just like, obviously they become best friends. Because they are the only 2 Asians in White Hills, so that's their connection.
Yeah. For the record, if we could just start pronouncing it the right way, and that's White Hills, you want to emphasize that? That'd be great.
I don't know what you're talking about, sir. But yeah, so we see that Audrey is presenting in class one day. They're a little bit older at this point, and she's presenting like her family tree, and like you just see just a bunch of pictures of her family. Her obviously they're her adopted family, and she has a little marker there for her birth mother, and one of the boys in her class goes, why were you given up for adoption? Did you do something wrong, or just making comments? And you see Lolo just being a really good friend. I thought she was gonna punch the kid again, but
We just start decking people.
so like he stands up and says, you're perfect the way you are and stuff, like just giving her that reassurance. And then you see like they're taking you see their class photos as they've gotten older. Like, so Audrey is very much an overachiever. She feels like because of the fact that she was adopted and stuff like that, she feels the need to overachieve to prove herself.
Yeah, to show her worth, basically, which is unfortunate, but like to show her worth as like a person right now. And that was like seeing that message and seeing like how that impacted her. That was like a more positive part of the movie for sure. Like that heartwarming part. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we see as Audrey is overachieving, Lolo is literally just doing her own thing.
Bunch of penises.
Yeah.
And clitoris.
Fingers and school photos. It's like, I don't know what principal is allowing this. What's going on?
And a quick question for our audience. Is it clitorises or clitori? If you could comment down below or let us know.
Either way, they don't exist. So what is it?
Either way, we can't find them, but please let us know how to pronounce it.
But yeah, so then we jump to present day. Audrey is a attorney. She's playing, what is that, squash? Racquetball?
I guess squash, because I don't think it was racquetball. So yeah, I think squash. Yeah.
I don't know.
It's squash and racquetball are played in racquetball courts. That's all I got. Yeah, so it's definitely one of the two for sure.
Yeah. But she's playing squash or whatever with her boss.
Squash is more affluent, so let's call it squash because she's working with playing with the partners, and she's definitely doing in the whole boys club of people playing. So yeah,
that was a big thing too. It was just like they're talking very disrespectfully and stuff, like kind of that the locker room talker. But and then she just like one of the guys or whatever, like she like cursing at one of her one of the other partners.
Yeah.
Like calling him
hitting the dick.
So it's like she's very much like acclimated to this like environment, this kind of all men's all boys club. And then her boss, I feel like this is what it kind of started out with. Like this comedy like didn't work for me. It was like very much him like trying to be the like white ally, I mean, he kept mentioning it, but it was just like I don't think though that comedy hit the way they thought it was gonna hit. The way, like I guess one time is fine, but it was I don't know. It was just weird how it was delivered to me. So it was just like
because you can definitely see. I mean, there are people like that straight up. There are a lot of people who are I'm an ally, I love it, but like you can only kind of like punch at them so much before it kind of gets a little redundant. I think,
and also because not even just in this movie, but just in kind of the world now, that is a kind of a low hanging kind of fruit type of joke. So it was like once you've heard it too many times, it was like it doesn't hit the same. Yeah,
it's kind of easy now. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but yeah, so her boss is talking to her, and he mentions that she has a deal. She's on track to make partner if she can close this deal with a Chinese businessman. So like that's the whole premise of the movie. She's going to China to close this deal. She's bringing a friend as a translator because since she's Chinese American, she doesn't speak Chinese. I think she can. She doesn't speak it or know it at all. So she's bringing a translator to help her with the deal. And then I think we jump to. Sorry, one second. Oh, also I think you saw that in the as they were going through the photos. Showing their progression as friends and getting older. That Lolo lives in like the garage,
like at the garage, carriage house, whatever it is.
At Audrey's or whatever. So it's once again very much like a kind of the wild child, like the in a way. But so later that night, you see that Audrey's parents are throwing a party to celebrate the fact that she's going to China. Like she never returned after she was adopted. So this is her first trip back, and they're very supportive of her going.
Especially she's going to be a partner. I mean, hell yeah.
Yeah, and also the fact that she's going to be a partner. It's like it's a whole big thing. And then they bring out this is where you get the two families. So it's like Audrey and her parents and Lolo and her parents,
Yeah.
and they bring out photos of when Audrey was younger. So that you see her first photo like taken with her dad and her birth mother, and like just different moments in her life that they've kept in a box. And Lolo sees the picture of her birth mother, and it was like she was like, "How come I've never seen this?" It was like, and they mentioned that they had always talked about when they were younger, going to China to find her birth mother. But it was, I guess, it was just something they talked about when they were kids. But I don't, at least in Audrey's case, it was something that I don't think she ever. Either she was super passionate about as a kid and kind of just like gave up, or she was just really never passionate about it. I couldn't really tell. And I think that's.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I think for like Audrey, it's probably like something she was interested in when she was a child. But then I think you can see like how much she's kind of like assimilated herself into like this like high performance law world where she's just like, I don't have time for this kind of thing. This is what I have time for. I get a lot of like you can see where in the beginning of this movie, so much of her identity is her job, and like and like obviously like her adopted family, who they're lovely people, but still like not necessarily they're not like her. Not even not necessarily. They're not like her. Well, you can tell from like appearance. So then seeing like there's still like a difference there that she's I'm sure felt her entire life. So then seeing that, okay, well now, that's why she would dive and put herself into all this like work to be that overachiever. That's how she gets it. So I think it was more, she was probably passionate about when she was a child, but she pushed it down and you can see, I'm sure she like pushed it down to focus on what she felt was more important at the time. And that's my thought, man.
Oh yeah, I can get that. Like I said, I think I think that helps me because it was like from that initial interaction about her birth mother, it was like the rest of the story doesn't really. She just seems like a passenger in her story later on, right? It was like if this is not something that's motivating her, then why should the audience care? In a way, right?
Yeah.
But hearing that explanation, that does help paint her in a different light, like later in the film. And so, yeah, they mentioned the birth mother and taking the photos. Lolo's going to China with her as a translator, or just to take the trip. Terrible idea. And you definitely see that, like, Lolo is obviously they're good friends, but there's definitely a dichotomy between.
Yeah, it's like they're best friends. They're best friends.
Duality between them, or whatever. Yeah. Just like, and I think one thing also that I saw that was weird, but it was just like they do like they call it, what did they call it, a sandwich or something like that, where Audrey and her parents like hug.
Yeah.
And Lolo looks over at her parents like white people stuff, but it was just like y'all have known each other your entire lives. How is this the first time you're having this weird interaction? Like I think that was weird to me. It was just like because we talked about this in Booksmart, right, where like they did a very good. Olivia Wilde did a very good job of showing the friendship between them without having to walk you through it. Like we didn't. It's interesting. In Booksmart, you didn't get the montage of them growing up together and stuff like that. You just saw that they were great friends, and even like they are very immersed in each other's lives. Or like you go over to the parents in Booksmart, like the parents are very much see the best friend as a daughter and stuff like that. So it's just like it was weird in this film. You get that montage that they're very close, but then that moment it was just like white people stuff. But it was like these parents should. This isn't the second time they're meeting. Like, what I'm saying? Yeah. It wasn't that first interaction at the park, and then like 20 years later. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, you could argue that like probably the parents were some of like the best friends in that neighborhood, at least for that specific neighborhood where they live. Yeah. Like, those are the people they hang with. Yeah, so it is a little.
That's where it was a little weird. But once again, I think it's one of those things for the trailer because I feel like that was also in the trailer. It's like so it's funny in the trailer, but it was like in the wider understanding of the film, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, well, it's kind of one of those. It's similar. It's an easier joke, probably, right? Yeah. Like, don't get me wrong, writing humor and writing comedy is hard as shit. Like, but that's an easier joke because you can just be like, oh, let's make fun of like the weird, awkward white people hug, because it's like cool. It's easy because it's weird and it's awkward. It looks weird and awkward, so it's easy to make fun of, but it's still an easier joke to make. Yeah.
But yeah, so I think the next day they head to the airport to go to China. Lolo mentions that her cousin will be joining them.
All from the get-go, I'm just like, yo, like, come on. Like, you kind of knew this was a bad idea. And then, like, as soon as that happens to you, you're like, how do you not know this is just a terrible idea?
Yeah.
Like,
I think it's one of those things, like, now that I'm older, right? all of these characters like seem like stick in the muds. Like when I was a kid, it was just like, oh, nobody ever wants to be that person. That is me now. Or just like, oh no,
Right.
this you need to get your shit together. Get a job. Like,
Take your shit, put it in a bag, but just get it together.
if you gotta take it to the shit store.
Wherever the fuck you gotta take it, I don't care. Just get it together.
Well, yeah. So Deadeye, her cousin, is joining them on the trip, but it was like she mentioned. Sorry, they mentioned that they're gonna meet their friends in China, so they won't be hanging around. Because RG is very much. She keeps pushing the fact that this is a work trip.
Yes.
They're not there to have fun. Is like she's very focused on closing this deal, making partner.
Which I mean, that's this should be just a work trip. If it's to be partner of your law firm, this
Yeah.
should just be a work trip and nothing else. But hey,
And I think I forgot to say the her boss also mentioned the fact that if she gets promoted to partner, she's gonna be moving to Los Angeles.
yes, yeah,
That was a thing. And so they get to the airport. They meet Deadeye. Deadeye is obsessed with K-pop or whatever. And so the flight is just fine. Like they get to China, and then they mention that they're going to meet Audrey's friend from college, Kat,
Yeah.
who is a famous Chinese actress now. And she kind of mentions the fact that Kat was like very much a very wild, and she doesn't understand why Lolo doesn't like Kat. And I think it's one of those things where like she's your college best friend, I'm your at home best friend, so it is that tension between them.
yeah.
Even though I don't think they ever met, it seemed like they never met.
I wouldn't be surprised if they met at least once or something. Probably like more casually. But there's definitely like, I mean, for Lola's part, a little bit of jealousy too. Like with Lola, because like I mean, Lolo's trying, but like her art's not necessarily taking off, and that's why Audrey even says, the two of you are kind of similar. Like they're both into art, they're both into like following passions. They're both into banging
Sex
tons of
positive,
dudes.
yeah.
Very sex positive. They're both into banging a ton of people. Like not just a ton of people in general, but with Kat being a not potentially, a more successful version of that, and also her other friend, there's definitely some jealousy and a little bit of like, tension butting heads there, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, so on the way there, Audrey mentions, I guess to kind of calm Lolo down, he mentions the fact that, one, they are very similar, so they should get along. And that, what's her name? Kat has a tattoo on her, or very close to her vagina, right? And then, so that is a bit of a comedy beat where, like, Lolo's like, so what is it? Or where is it? Like, constantly asking questions about it. It was like, I don't think that, what's her name? Sherry Cola has the comedic chops to pull off some of these things. It was like I didn't see her, like I didn't find her funny in a lot of the those moments, and I think that doesn't help. We talked about this earlier with like the comedy not landing. So it's just like if you, I mean, we talked about in other episodes. It was like comedy is very hard. So it's just like I think she's probably a great dramatic actress, but like comedy wise, it just really didn't hit. At least for me, but obviously the audience thought, other audience and critics thought differently. But yeah, so they go to see Kat on the set of her TV show. They meet her and her fiance, who is
Clarence, her fiance, yeah.
Clarence. Yeah, he's super religious, and it was like they're waiting for marriage, and like she's been lying to him and pretending that she doesn't have this very like storied past and stuff like that.
That's where you get like the other trailer thing too, because it's like they're being celibate, they're waiting till marriage, and then she's like, "Oh, we have a spiritual connection, not physical." And then Lola's like, "Oh, like when you got Eiffel Towered by the Jonas Brothers."
Yes.
And that was in the trailer, and that hit pretty well. And within it was all Clarence was like, "Oh, a joke. I love Paris," and it was like,
That's what I'm saying. It's not devoid of comedy. Like I don't want to make it seem like that. I'm pointing out specific moments where the comedy didn't land, but it wasn't like all throughout the movie. Because you do see that kind of back and forth between what's her name, Kat and Lolo, but they do have that tension. So after they visit Kat on set, they then go to this club because that's where they're meeting Chow to sign the deal. And so there's a whole thing about like how Chinese businessmen, like, it was like if you can drink with them, then they'll forever be, they'll be great partners and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I've heard
So
that's like a legit thing, and like in a lot of like Asian countries, I think it's similar in Korea. I'm not sure about Japan, but like of just like a lot of like business meetings and important things, and like one would think very important things are conducted
mhm.
in like these clubs while people are drinking a lot and hanging out. Because I guess you do get to see people at their potential worst here
Yeah.
when you're all hammered. So yeah,
My old ass is like, can we turn the music down just a bit?
yeah, right. I'm like, hey, what's that? Yeah,
But yeah, so they have the meeting at the club, and like once again, Audrey was very focused on was like, let's get these papers signed. I
yeah.
want to make partner, yada yada yada. Excuse me. So like they're drinking with Chow and his associates, and then they start. You can see that Audrey's not a big drinker, but once again, she's trying to
Yeah.
um, just be a part of like this is her thing. It was like she's just being a part of that boys club, doing whatever she needs to do to
Mhm.
achieve. So she's not a big drinker, but she takes a bunch of shots,
Yeah.
and then they
What is
start
it?
playing this.
Also the 1,000 year egg shot, which would be
Yeah,
similar.
yeah,
Like so, 1,000 year egg for those that don't know, it's an egg that they like ferment with like I don't know all the seasoning stuff in it, but then they bury it, and like I'm pretty sure it should be buried, and then it's like let to like it's a hard boiled egg, or I think it's hard boiled egg. I don't fully know. Either way, it's either a raw egg or a hard boiled egg. No, it's got to be hard boiled that they like ferment underground for a little bit, and it comes out. It's all like black. I will say, fun fact. I just had 1,000 year egg in New York. I was just at New York this past weekend, everybody,
yeah.
and it's part of the reason why I made sure to order it was because of this movie. Because I saw it on the menu, I was like, hell yeah, I want to try this.
God,
Mine
the
was not in a
1,000 year egg market is just gonna explode
yeah.
after this.
But like, I was not in a shot glass, so it wasn't as slimy as they made it seem to
Okay.
be. On there, I had
Yeah,
it
because it looked
reminded
like
me
from what the I mean,
of
obviously I'm a professional drinker, but it looked like a bunch of moss in there. Like I was like,
yeah.
what swamp did you get this egg from?
Yeah, well, it reminded me kind of like an oyster shooter, where you like
Mhm.
so you put a raw oyster in a shot of like vodka or something, and you chug that down, and those are tasty. I'm cool with those. So yeah,
But yeah, so
yeah.
they're drinking at the club. Then they switch to this slap game. It was like I think you play like it was like rock paper scissors or something like that,
Hmm.
something like that, and whoever loses gets slapped.
Yeah.
So I think Chow was playing like his two of his associates were playing, and then you get Lolo versus Kat, and it was like they don't even play the game. They just start smacking one another because obviously there's that tension between them.
Yeah.
And then Chow goes versus Audrey, and she wins, and she slaps him like super hard.
He's
Like, to the
bleeding
point,
over
I think
there.
she had a ring on where like his lip is
Yeah.
bleeding, but he was like, "That's that's what they do, right?"
Yeah.
And
Well, you're not supposed to
the
hit him
whole
that hard.
yeah, the whole time, what's her name? Lolo is translating as well
Hmm.
for them.
Yeah.
And then like, so she slaps him. He accepts the slap because it was like that's the game, and then she immediately vomits.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, that's awkward.
And it was, yeah, so then like she goes away like, oh, this night is going horribly, yada yada yada. And then she's talking to Lolo,
Mhm.
and then like you see somewhere in the club, what's her name? Kat is taking photos because obviously she's famous in China, so like she's
Mhm.
taking photos with people. Chow comes over to Lolo and Audrey, and he starts speaking English, and he mentions, and I think this was also so much was in the damn trailer.
Yeah.
He mentions the fact that a lot of people in China speak English, but
Hmm.
he was just doing it for fun. He was just like fucking with her.
Yeah. Well, it's like
Um,
the joke is, what do you call people that can only speak one language? American. Yeah.
Sick burn, bro.
I'm like
I was not
self burn.
expecting that one.
Gotcha,
Um,
me. Yeah.
think about that one tonight. But so he mentions the fact that he was like asked her where she's from, and it was like because obviously in China, I think, and I think I did learn this when one of the things I really loved when I was in China was the fact that like um, the community is bigger than self or
Hmm.
something. And somebody mentioned it earlier. I might have butchered it,
Yeah, the
but
I
the
versus
idea.
we.
Yes, and it was.
Hmm.
I think I love that. The fact that it was like your surname comes before your name because of the fact that you take your family, you take your lineage with you wherever you go.
Hmm.
And that was something that really stuck with me when I was in China because of the fact that I spent a lot of my college years trying to find my identity, trying to find out who Michael was, and I kind of ignored my surname, but it was like to go somewhere. It was like, no, that surname is more important than your actual name. Obviously, you are an important person. I'm not trying to
Yeah.
downplay that, but it was like your family is shows who you are, where you've been, and stuff like that. So he mentioned Child mentions that he can't do a deal with somebody if he doesn't know their family.
Yeah.
And Audrey says that, she doesn't have any, Chinese family. I mean, she has a birth mother, but she doesn't know who she is. And it was like you could see the deal kind of falling through. So Lolo trying to save it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, so he can do a deal with someone who punches him in the face and like cuts his lip open. He can do a deal with someone who pukes on him. But if you don't know your family, even though it's a very clear, I can explain that. And she explained that she was adopted, so she can explain the situation she was in. And he's like, "Oh, typical American, no thank you. Puke on me all you want. I kind of like that actually, but if I
I
don't know
mean, you can shit in my home, but come on, guy. Who's your dad?
exactly. I'm
I
like,
think
all right,
honestly, and I thought that's what I was saying about the quote unquote stakes of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't really like there was like really that's what kicks off this journey.
yeah.
The fact that like he won't do the deal if like she doesn't know her mom or she can't bring somebody. It was weird. But anyway, so Lolo trying to save this moment. Says that Audrey, her mom is actually she does have family in China. Her birth mother is there. And so a child mentions that he's throwing his mother a birthday party at the end of the week. And she should bring, Audrey should bring her birth mother to the party. And then at that party, he'll officially sign.
Terrible.
Yeah. Like I said, it was like, that's what was weird about the premise of this movie, that when you finally get going, that's the motivation, that's the driving force of this film.
Like you could have even just had it be like change some stuff up slightly to be like, you know what, it's time I finally find my birth mother. Like completely cut out the deal part of this in general. Like, and you could just have her still be like the one, because I think even like I'm trying to remember which character is which for like Girls Trip, for instance. But like you still have the one who's like obsessed with work in that movie, right? And so
that was I can't remember the name. You're right, but that was Queen Latifah's character.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so like you
Well,
still
sorry, you're talking about the one that was the main girl. That was Regina Hall. And then Queen Latifah was like the journalist, the one or whatever.
Yes.
So,
So you can still have these people who are like obsessed with their careers in this movie, and she's like, maybe she's balancing it and being like, oh, I took time off work even though I'm not supposed to, so I'm trying to make both work. I'm trying to make like my overbearing boss work while we look for my birth mother. But then having like this stake into it seemed I agree, it was a little odd, a little push.
But anyway, we digress. But now we set the premise of the movie where she needs to find her birth mother to bring her to this party for Child's mother so that he'll sign the deal. And so they hop on a train to go. I can't remember where they were going. Because I'm not that familiar with China. But they hop on a train.
We're leaving Beijing. That's
yes. So I just kept writing tension in my notes.
Tension?
Old. But yeah. So they hop on a train to go find Audrey's birth mother. And they're looking at different cars in the train. And they stumble upon one that just has one person in it, this little white girl. And obviously,
a white person.
Yeah. And so, like, they're trying to talk to this girl, but she's very, like, squirrely and, like, standoffish, mentioning that she lives in Beijing, for work. She does import-export. And it's very clear. I think it doesn't help that some of the best moments are in the trailer.
Yes.
So it robs you of those moments when you get to the film.
For sure.
But yeah, so you can obviously see that both Kat and Lolo, but being that they are very similar, and I think I love that turn for them as the movie progressed. But Kat and Lolo are like very clear. There was she's clearly a drug dealer. Something's wrong with her, right?
Yeah.
But Audrey, saw nothing wrong. She's really not prying, but like just trying to get to know this person. And then the girl goes to leave the train car, and she immediately comes back because she sees that there's cops aboard the train, and they're knocking on every door looking for a drug dealer.
Yeah.
And then they find out that this girl is the drug dealer, and Kat is like, "Oh, we're just gonna tell them that you're we have nothing to do with this." And so once again, you see this in the trailer where she blows cocaine in all their faces and says, "Now you guys are an accessory. The only way we're gonna get through this is if you either take these drugs or hide them. I don't give a fuck what. And you definitely see that she sees that both Kat and Lolo are they're used to doing drugs and stuff like that. So like, and then so like I think Kat and Lolo hide the drugs. Audrey and Deadeye take them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Well,
it's
I
just a
mean,
bunch of
they all take a ton. Like Lolo takes a fuck ton of drugs too.
yeah.
They're just excuse me, but
And
yeah.
so, yeah, then the cops come in, and then like Audrey not hopped up. Why do I sound like an old man? Hopped up on giggle juice.
On the marijuana.
See, she's clearly high from the cocaine. It's like she's tucked it into her shirt and like,
Yeah.
and she's like, honest, as a lawyer, I can say like she's trying to give this whole speech, and then like she says, this is basically objection, Your Honor, or some shit like that, and then sits down. And I love there's a slight moments where it's just like Lolo shakes her hand like you did such a good job.
Nice, that was great. Yeah,
That was
killed it, bro.
and so like then the drug dealer turns on them and says that they kind of force her to do drugs and stuff like that. And so like being that they're high and they're being accused of drug, like they all get kicked off the train.
Yeah.
The drug dealer steals Kat's bag. And earlier, when they were on the platform waiting for the train, Audrey was very nervous in China because she doesn't feel at home there. That's not like, even though she is Chinese, she doesn't feel at home in our homeland. And so like she was like, they gave Kat all of their passports to make sure, to keep them safe. Then Kat's suitcase gets taken, so now they don't have their passports, and they got kicked off the train, and they're in the middle of nowhere in rural China. And this is where you get another scene from the fucking trailer where like what's her name? Kat is trying to poop out the bags of cocaine, and then you have Audrey who is high on cocaine, like she's like, get it out. You have a clean one because I need more cocaine. He was like, I will make partner so that I can buy coke.
For the record, it was also just impressive that Kat was able to fit 8 condoms worth of cocaine up her butt. Yeah, I mean, like, good for her. Yeah, that's like small. That's like that reaches your large intestine at that point in time, or like small intestine. Right? Which one's first? But yeah.
But yeah, so while they're like just trying to figure out, because now they they don't have any passports, so they can't get home. Like they obviously they and stuck in the middle of nowhere. But conveniently, Lolo was DMing former NBA star Baron Davis, who was playing in China. And so he comes with his team on a bus, picks them up and takes them to a hotel. And then when they're in the hotel, like in the hotel lobby, everybody's gotten rooms and stuff like that. You see that Audrey seems to be attracted to one of the players. Another player comes up named Todd, who was like a former fling of Kat. And she's, he's flirting with her, but she's very much like, oh, I'm not that girl anymore, and also like I'm engaged, so like we can't do any of that. But then in this moment, she'd forgotten one of the bags of cocaine, and it burst. So now she's getting a rush. And she mentioned that whenever she gets high on cocaine, she gets really horny. So now she's trying to suppress that because she is, putting up a front on who she is because of the fact that she's a celebrity in China, she's engaged and stuff like that. So after this, all the girls separate. So you got Deadeye hanging out with some of the players because like she's big into dancing and K-pop. You have Kat goes to the gym to work out because of the fact that like she's I'm not gonna say hopped up again, but you know she's hopped up on cocaine.
She's high on
and so she's going to the gym to kind of work that out. Baron Davis and Kat go to hang out, and then Audrey goes to do some work.
She goes to do some work
at the bar.
This lady goes and do some work.
So Audrey gets approached by one of the basketball players from Baron Davis's team, but he doesn't speak English. I think he only speaks Chinese. So he approached her speaking Chinese. And another one of his teammates comes up and translates for her. And they have a conversation about the fact that like they're both not from China. Like I think the I can't remember the actor's name or the player, but the player that does speak English, he's from like Britain or whatever.
I think he's from New Zealand or Australia.
New Zealand. Sorry, yeah, you're right. New
Yeah, yeah.
Zealand. Probably.
Yeah, so he's from New Zealand, Australia, so he speaks English, Chinese, and then a little bit of Hindi, and then his friend, the
Yeah.
other player, speaks Hindi and Chinese. I think
Yes.
that was the order. Yeah,
So it
yeah.
was just like, but because Audrey, and I think these are the moments in the movie where they get heartfelt. She's talking about the fact that even though she's in her homeland, she doesn't feel at home, or whatever. And the player from New Zealand mentions that it was like they're not from China, but they made it their home. Like and they found ways to make this place feel like home. So that's what you have to do, right?
Yeah, and that's where they say like the I versus we, right? Like he says the
Yes,
I versus
yes.
we, and
Yeah.
what a smooth way to lead into a threesome. All right, you know what I mean? Man's got game. All right, one of us is just like, hey, this isn't about just you and I know it's about us, we.
You're gonna get mad at me when we go like, Mike, stop bringing up I versus we.
Just going up to people like, hey, we.
But yeah, so Audrey goes. She mentions the fact that like she doesn't know who she is and stuff like that. And he smoothly,
Yeah. It's a very nice speech in general because it also talks about the difference of like Eastern versus Western culture and like philosophy on life, and also it's a great way, as we said, to lead in for a nice little threesome.
so yeah, she hooks up. Audrey hooks up with the two players, the player from New Zealand and the one that spoke Hindi. Deadeye has a dance battle with the players that she's hanging out with. They're hanging out with. Baron Davis and Lolo have a conversation about sex positivity and stuff like that. Which once again, the comedy just didn't hit. Lolo has her moments, but like a lot of the big comedy moments, the beats don't hit.
And I agree. It's like that's why like when I saw with the movie, I was like, I didn't want to like say it in the review, but like I applaud it for being so sex positive. I applaud it for what I mean? Like, yeah, that's great. But like the comedy aspect of it is detracting from this almost, right? Like literally, like it is like yeah.
And then you have what's her name, Kat. She's in the gym on the like one of the bikes, and Todd comes in and like obviously she's trying to avoid him because she's very horny because of the cocaine. And so like they're both working out in there. I think she pulls something in her back, and so he brings out like a massage gun to massage her, and she gets stimulated by it. So all this is all happening in parallel, and like each one of them basically injures. Actually, not Lolo, but Kat, Deadeye, and Audrey injure the players that they're hanging out with during their sexual their sexual encounters. So like the next is go ahead.
Well, I was just so like yeah, because it's what like Audrey. So in this whole scene too, and this was something with like the kind of bad or weird CGI. Where there's a part where I'm just going to be perfectly, I guess, vulgar or frank. When with Audrey, the two dudes are eating her out. You can't see anything, but you can see their heads, and their heads are moving like super quick.
Yeah, it was
like,
weird. Yeah,
it was weird. Or then there was a part with Kat when she was like doing like a leg machine thing, and her legs. Were
oh
really
yeah.
quick.
Oh, hey, you're right. I did notice.
What they did, and I guess they tried to do it for like humorous effect, but it to me it just wound up looking weird, and like kind of like taking you out of that scene a little bit because you're like clearly it looks like you just fast forwarded this part of the movie. Almost.
That's what it was. I do remember the leg press thing because it was like because obviously as she gets hornier, she like she increases her speed.
Exactly. But so Audrey gives them both a concussion because when she orgasms, she like slams her heads together with her legs by accident. Kat, so I was confused by this, and that's why I want to bring it up because Kat like winds up turning the massage gun a little bit, or like because the ball pops when she puts on herself because Kat puts a basketball on in between her legs, and the dude puts a massage gun there. The ball pops, which I guess is simulating her having an orgasm. But then like the massage gun turns and just like hits the dude in the nuts. But then he gets a shatter.
No, so what it was is she goes, "I want you to feel this too."
Yeah.
So she takes a massage gun and starts like massaging his balls for some reason.
And that shatters. But that's right.
Fucking a punching bag.
But that shatters his pelvis because in the.
I think you're right. That was weird. It was just like Jesus Christ. How
so it was like, did she jump him afterwards? Is that what really happened? Is that she like jumped on top and really like death by snoo style or like? Yeah.
But yeah, so several players are injured after their encounter with the ladies. So Baron Davis is really upset. He was like, "You fucked up half my team." Like that. So he's like, "Oh, we can't take you where you need to go."
Yeah.
And so, but Audrey like having this newfound like look on life, she just goes, "I will figure it out."
Yeah.
And I think
Audrey.
this is what I was saying about even the trip. It was just like there seemed to be no stakes. So it was just like and it was like so they don't have passports, but somehow miraculously just traveling through
Yeah,
through the
like they don't
world.
have passport. Like apparently they were supposed to get back by Friday, but they're just like, no, we're just going to take
I
our
think it was also it
time.
was a ticking clock, but it was like I don't know what day it is. I don't
Yeah,
give a shit. Like,
exactly. Yeah, but I will say, Audrey, after having her threesome, did have a new source of confidence and love for
yeah.
life. So that was nice. Yeah,
But it was, I think this moment. So after the basketball team leaves them stranded in this hotel, there's like, oh, we'll. Audrey says we'll just figure it out to get to where they need to go to find her mom. And so they kind of hitchhike through China, and this is where you get Audrey finding a love for her homeland,
yeah.
right? I think I did enjoy these moments. Film,
And that was like a
and then
funny part too. She was talking to like the boat guy who was like rowing, and then Lolo's like, "You think she's gonna bang him too?" that was that was like,
and it was like yeah. So you do see, and like it's a road trip movie. So you do see like these enemies becoming friends in Lolo and Kat and stuff like that. And
yeah,
then you see Audrey opening up as a she's less. I mean, obviously she's focused on her work and stuff like that, but she is opening up to like new experiences.
yeah,
Sorry, one second. Oh, and then so they're going to where they need to get to is Lolo's family,
because
right?
that's
That's
what the
where they go to
adoption
date.
agency is as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And so before, I think the day before they go to the adoption agency, they stay at Lolo's family's house. And so you meet Lolo's family. She has this huge family.
yeah.
And they like it was so funny. Like I think it's a culture thing, like making comments about like how certain cultures will make fun of you for being fat and then like but overfeed you, or like
Exactly. Yeah,
make comments about like not being married but also being independent. It's just like you can't win with your family. And I think I love that because it's like very specific to obviously an Asian culture, but it was like it's just across the board. That's
yeah.
just a lot of cultures are.
Yeah, because they go to like Lolo, like she's like Lolo, you need to cut your hair. Deadeye, you need to grow your hair out. I'm
Yeah.
like Lolo, you're too fat. Deadeye, you're too skinny. And I'm like, yeah, it was right there. Yeah,
But there was a moment between Audrey and Deadeye. Deadeye is playing a game with one of their cousins. The game that they made up,
Yeah.
and they keep winning somehow. And Deadeye is having a conversation with Audrey about like Audrey saying it was like you have such a great family and stuff like that. And Deadeye mentions that they don't feel welcomed in their family. They're very much like the black sheep, kind of like people just don't get them or whatever. And it was a sweet moment. It was like one of those things where like Audrey saying like we're friends, like and like truly meaning it. And so the next day, Audrey gets dressed up in I think it was like a dress that Lolo's grandmother had worn on her first date or something like that with her grandfather.
when she was
Just the
she was
first date.
deflowered. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what she
And I
said.
think
Those are her words.
that was funny because it was just like the grandmother goes, "I wore this on the night I got deflowered or whatever with the,
Yeah.
to the man I love." And Lola goes, "You talking about grandpa?" She was like, "No."
No, man, no, I'm not.
So they go to the adoption agency. They show the woman there the picture. And it was I think that's when Lolo was like, "Oh, you brought the picture from earlier in the film." And so they find out that Audrey is not Chinese, but she's Korean. Her mother was like a teenage single mom. And so her parents sent her away to China to have the baby, and then forced her to put it up for adoption before she can go back to Korea. And so you get the moment with when the Audrey and the girls go back to Lolo's family house, and when Lolo's family was very inviting of all of them, because they were Chinese, and then they found out that Audrey was Korean, and they're like, "Ugh, pass."
Yeah, well, because they had the whole thing too. It was like, "Oh, your face is so round and beautiful," when they thought she was Chinese, and then as soon as she was Korean, it's like, "Of course she's Korean. Her face is so round. That's gross." And it's like, "Damn, y'all, that is some messed up."
So, in order to still save the deal, that once again that's booming in the back.
Yeah,
in the background.
I guess it is. Whatever. Yeah, it doesn't feel like it anymore. Yeah.
In order to save the deal, because also at some point during her threesome, Audrey's boss had called or
That was
something
so
like that,
dumb.
mentioning that Chow, is gonna pull out of the deal if you don't, if you don't complete it or whatever.
Yeah.
You're not gonna make partner. Yada yada yada.
Yeah,
Once again, these
she
things,
accidentally answers a FaceTime call from her boss while having a threesome, and I'm
yeah.
like, that's silly. Yeah, but whatever.
But yeah. So once again, still trying to keep this deal, still trying to make partner. They decide to go to Seoul, Korea, to find her birth mother or whatever.
Yeah,
Um, and but once again, bringing up later, we know that they don't have passports. So how are they gonna get there? And so Deadeye, being a big fan of K-pop, they make up the fact that they are a K-pop group, and they're gonna just kind of fake their way onto a plane to get to Seoul.
yeah,
And there's once again, God damn it, I'm gonna stop saying this was in the trailer, but
it was though.
but so they go to the airport. Oh no, like I guess not an actual airport, but I guess it was like a hangar or something like that. Pretending to be K-pop stars. I cannot remember the names; they were ridiculous. I'm not a huge fan of K-pop, so I don't know. I'm not gonna pretend.
Whoa, 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 whoa! The Meddling Kids are totally fine with K-pop, and that we
I
know it's
didn't
a very
say
large fan base.
But yeah, so one of Deadeye's friends from online is able to secure them
A jet.
a jet or whatever, and then he brings fans and stuff like that to really sell this fact that they're K-pop stars. But the guy at the desk is like, I don't believe that you're K-pop stars or whatever, and so like they're forced to perform, and so they perform. What's her name? Audrey had mentioned earlier during the conversation with Deadeye about the fact that it was like. She like very like Mumford and Sons and like
Great band.
Maroon
For the
5 or
record.
something.
For the record, great band.
Yeah.
Mumford and Sons. Yeah. Nothing wrong with Mumford and Sons. All right. There's nothing wrong with Mumford and Sons.
But they kind of related on the fact that Deadeye liked Cardi B, right?
Yeah.
So it was like they and also early when we met Kat, they mentioned that Audrey and Kat in college were in a acapella group,
Yes.
so they can
Yeah.
they can sing, and so they throw together this performance. It's obviously a very K-pop style performance of WAP by
Yeah.
Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion. And during the performance, so like because of the fact that what's her name, Lolo, is basically like a streamer, like she's streaming it live or whatever they're performing, and during the performance, Kat's skirt is somehow like comes off.
Yeah.
And so we finally get to see her tattoo, which is literally just a tattoo of the devil over her
Yeah, a
vagina.
giant Oni mask, like demon Oni mask, like
Oh,
all
that's
of
what. Okay, yeah.
yeah.
And so, and so because of that, they're not able to get on the fucking plane.
Yeah. So this was also what I mentioned too from like a CGI perspective. I was like, okay, I guess that's kind of funny. I didn't find it that funny, but then they completely lost me. Like, it's tattooed on the inside too, and like they have like a camera view from the inside of her vagina, and I'm like, that's dumb. I was like, that's not. I was like, I couldn't like separate. I couldn't what's the word I'm looking for from reality. I couldn't suspend disbelief. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't suspend my disbelief enough to believe that you had Oni horns tattooed on the inside of your vagina. No, I don't believe it. That's stupid. I didn't like it.
That is where I draw the line.
Yeah, that's
man.
like I draw.
I'll let you throw up on me. But yeah, so because of this incident, they're not able to get on the flight, so they have to take a boat to Korea. When they get to Korea, they're a lot closer friends now and stuff like that. They've been on this journey. Deadeye goes to get them ice cream, and then we notice that like people are noticing Kat, and she just assumes it's because of the fact that she's a famous Chinese actress, but it's because of the fact that Lolo's video went viral.
Yeah.
So now the world knows that her vagina has that devil tattooed on it. And then at the same time, Audrey gets a call from both Chow and her boss. So Chow has seen the video, and he's like, I don't want to do business with you anymore. Don't even come to the party. And then her boss calls her. He's seen the video, and he fires her.
Yeah.
So I feel so bad, but it was like, now like Audrey is like upset because Lolo is upset with Audrey now because she finds out that if she would have made partner, she would have moved to LA, and this was something that Audrey she was trying to figure out a way to tell Lolo. Yeah. And so you have them arguing about how Audrey's selfish, Lolo's an underachiever, and stuff like that. And it was like I just thought that's what it's so sad. I was like, the all is lost moment.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, that is. But I thought it was a shitty all is lost moment. I didn't
yeah,
even believe it. I was like, whatever. Like, at first I'm like, this is not Audrey's fault. None of this is Audrey's fucking
yeah,
fault.
yeah,
You should not be blamed for any of this right now.
yeah.
And then, yeah, but that was the all is lost moment for sure.
But yeah, so now you get like, oh, and also in this argument, both Kat and Lolo agree that Audrey has been like selfish or like she said self something.
So dumb. Yeah, and that's again. I was
Yeah,
just like, Kat, this is Lolo's fault. Like, what are you talking about? This is
yeah,
literally Lolo's fault. Like all of this. Why are you blaming Audrey? But yeah,
yeah.
whatever.
But it was honestly, that movie got a movie.
Yeah,
I
movie
think
got
that's
a
the
movie.
problem with a lot of things. It was just like, in order for the movie to happen, this needs to happen. So
Yeah.
like that's that they allow these things. But anyway, so the all is lost moment happens. The Audrey, Kat, and Lolo fight. Um, and they are kind of all head their separate ways.
Yeah, Dead Eye sees
Lolo,
it, drops all the ice cream or coffee that she had. You know, like the
yeah,
coffee bubble tea. She
because of the
drops
fact
it.
that it was like she had mentioned earlier that like people don't stay friends with her long or like or stuff like that. That's why she doesn't really open up to anybody. And so Audrey still had like, even though like now she's lost her job, but she still goes to the adoption agency to try to find her mom.
Which felt a little random, almost.
Yeah.
Didn't it? Yeah, it felt kind of random that she still went.
That's
You know?
because of the fact that, like I said earlier, Audrey was very much a passenger in this journey to find her birth mom.
Yeah.
It wasn't something that she was like passionate about. It was just like, I need to do this for the job. So like when she lost the job, it was like, what's the point? What what are we doing?
Yeah.
But yeah, so she goes to the adoption agency to find her mother and finds out that her birth mother had passed away. And both, I think, everybody else goes home. So Lolo and Deadeye head back to Seattle. She moves out of Audrey's garage or wherever she was staying. Kat goes back to China, and I think she's been fired from her job or whatever.
I don't
But
remember what happened yet. Probably because she's packing up a box.
well, she was packing up. So
Yeah.
it's just the assumption.
Well, because she is known for her good girl image
Yes.
in like the Chinese, not plays movies and TV shows. She does.
Yeah.
Like she's like the purest snow heroine or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, so she's lost her at least her TV gig, and Clarence as well. Because Clarence showed up at the during their K-pop performance.
Yes.
And so he saw the
Right.
tattoo.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like Lolo moves out, the Kat loses her job, and then but you do see that Lolo decides to work at her family's restaurant. And Kat has a conversation with Clarence, and they kind of make up. He was just saying the fact that he was pretending to wait for marriage because of the fact that he felt like he couldn't live up to her expectations sexually.
Yeah.
And so like that's wrapped up, and then you get Audrey. She goes to her mother's grave, and she meets her mother's husband. So not her birth father, but the man that eventually married her mom. And so they have, he takes her to his house or whatever. It shows her pictures of her mom, and her mom, was sick, so she had recorded a video for her daughter if she were ever to come looking for her, because they did mention earlier that the fact that her birth mother did want, like, it wasn't one of those things where like you can't come see me afterwards. She was very much like she did want her daughter to reach out to her one day. So she leaves her a message about how like she didn't want to give her up, but like she kind of had to. But she's like super, proud of her and like stuff like that, and like loves the fact that she was able to be her mom even so briefly. Before Audrey heads home, her mother's husband mentions the fact that her friends had called her, which makes sense, but fine.
I haven't really said much for the past like couple minutes. It's like, I didn't know what the fuck was going on at this point in time in the movie. It was very hard.
Like after the all is lost, once you lose her job, it was like that takes all the stakes are gone. Like, what's the point now?
Well, because also I'm just like, so I don't want it to sound like super negative, but like, so all the friends but Audrey were able to make it home, start new jobs, and rejoin their lives, while Audrey was still stuck and like just now meeting her mom, like her mom's husband for the first time okay, don't get me wrong, super heartfelt message with the video that her mother recorded because she was sick was lovely. My wife cried from while we were watching it together. The three of us were watching it together. She was crying, so it was a really like nice heartfelt moment. But like a lot of this other stuff of like, yes, so what happened was your friends called me because they knew through the adoption agency that I would be at this grave, so I started going to the grave randomly. No, you lost me here, Matt. You lost me here, y'all. I'm sorry, but yeah.
But anyway, so
Yeah.
yeah, he mentioned that her friends had called her, so it's like really kind of pushing her to make amends. So she heads back to Seattle. She goes to Lolo's family's restaurant where Deadeye is working as a hostess,
Yeah.
and Lolo is what's a waitress or whatever. And so I'm getting tired of fucking. This happened in Crazy Rich Asians too, but it was like I'm getting tired of people hijacking public public areas for declarations of love. Do it on your own time. I'm just trying to enjoy my fucking meal.
I'm trying to eat. All right, this is messing up.
Crazy Rich Asians was on the damn plane. I was just like, bro, I am trying to get to New York. I don't give a fuck about your love life. But yeah, so she tells Lolo like that she was being selfish. Like Lolo's been her best friend for years. Really pushed her to do things. Really protected her and stuff like that. But Lolo also agrees that she was wrong in certain ways. So they all make up. They all make up. You find out, and then I think a year later they do another girls trip in Paris. Oh, sorry, best friends trip in Paris.
Which was the best place for them because Eiffel Tower jokes.
Yes, it's called foreshadowing, sir.
That's what this movie was all about. Was just getting them to.
Honestly, I feel like if they did they could have left that up to a sequel. So it was just like, where are we gonna go type of thing, and it was like the next movie is them in Paris type of thing. Like I feel like that's what they should have done. But anyway, so they do a girls trip a year later in Paris. We find out that and they're all having dinner, and you find out that Kat was able to find she's doing a movie with Greta Gerwig. Lolo has been selling her art, so she still works at the restaurant, but on the side, she's still selling her sex positive art.
Yeah.
Audrey has left her firm. Well, not left; she got fired, but she started her own firm or whatever. And I think Deadeye. What was Deadeye doing? Being Deadeye. Oh yeah, and then and it was like that was the kind of the end of the movie. They all just girls friends in Paris talking about their successes of the past year.
And the movie ends with Deadeye showing her vagina tattoo to everyone in the restaurant. And apparently it lights up.
Comedy!
So that is Joyride. First and foremost, thank you so much for listening, everybody. We really appreciate you. At the end of every podcast, we always like to revisit our original review to see if it changed while we were reliving the movie. Mike, you gave it a 2.5, sir. Did anything change while we were talking about it?
No, I was thinking about giving it a 3, just because of the fact that, thankfully, talking it with you, there were moments that were a lot funnier than I thought. But I think I'm going to stick with a 2.5. Like, that's not terrible, but like I said, it was a lot of the story just kind of fell through and stuff like that, and then also some of the comedy didn't hit. But I did enjoy the, especially that montage of them going through China. And it really sold this idea of finding your identity and who you are. I did enjoy that, but I'm gonna stick with the 2.5.
Remember, we gave Cocaine Bear 2.5, and that's a classic. All right, so no, so I'm also gonna stick with a 2.5 because I agree that when you think about it, there were really good heartfelt moments in this movie, but I still think that even reviewing it, there were parts of this movie where I was like, what? So with that, kind of detracted from some of that for me as well. So I'm going to stick in with the 2.5. But again, thank you so much for listening, everybody. We are the Two Meddling Kids. If you would like to reach out to us, you can find us at Two Meddling Kids on Twitter and Instagram. If you'd like to email us, it's twomeddlingkids@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. Mike, how can they reach out to you, sir?
On Instagram at Days from Legendary.
Excellent. And you can reach out to me. I am at EdHunt77 on Twitter and Instagram. And my comic endeavor is hunt.comics on Instagram. So would love to hear from you and would love for you to check out my comics too. But until next time, everybody, we will see you soon. Gotcha.
Bye.
Yeah.